Hello, lovely people. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Camille, your internet big sister, where personal growth meets leveling up in style with substance and soul at the center. Big thanks to all the subscribers. I just checked. I am currently at 732 subscribers. Like, how did we get here? So it's nice to meet all of you. Thank you for the likes, the comments, for the engagement. Let's continue to build this community. And you know what? Screw it. Let's go to 1,000. In all seriousness though, I made a video on YouTube about 4 months ago titled, Why You Should Go to Events Alone. And it gained a lot of views. It's almost at 3,000 views right now. And I basically emphasized how when women show up solo, that's where true change happens, because now the only person you have to lean on and trust is yourself. Going out alone usually has steps. You go to coffee shops alone. That's usually the first step. And I think most people are at that level. And you see it all the time. You see students studying for exams. You see entrepreneurs with their laptops. You even see people sitting by themselves with a book and a matcha latte. It's normal and you see it all the time. The next tier is restaurants. And then the next tier after restaurants is going to events. And that's the video that I'm referring to that got the most views, because I talked about my experience with going to events alone. Every time I go to an event alone, I always end up meeting someone very important. Or even prior to me going to this event, I always set an intention. My intention will be, I'm gonna have a good time, or I'm going to meet someone really important. And when I go out to this event, I end up meeting someone important and I end up having a really good time, because that is demonstrating to me that I'm able to curate, craft, and design my own joy. And I'm an only child. So at this point, I think I've mastered it. So I thought. Come to find out, it's actually solo traveling. Have you ever had a moment where you realize that you've been moving on autopilot, where life has just been happening to you instead of being created by you and for you? Well, that was me right before I booked a solo trip to Cabo, Mexico. And what happened with this is I was watching that solo travel series by Tracee Ellis Ross, where she goes to Marrakesh, she went to Spain, and she went to Mexico by herself. And I became really inspired by that because, again, like I said, she is someone who is well known. And she is really walking us through what it looks like to craft and create your own joy. You get to decide where you want to go. You decide what you pack, what you wear. And when you get to your destination, you decide what you get to do. And if you decide to do absolutely nothing, relax, rest, and live the soft life, well then yes, that is a plan. And I remember being so compelled and moved by this because I can relate to Tracee Ellis Ross because, number one, we're both Black. We both have curly hair. We're both stylish. And we're both very cultured. Even when I was younger, my parents took me on vacations to Europe, to Mexico. I've been to really cool places in the world where it really shapeshifted how I see different cultures and how we can learn from people that are different from us. And I remember being so moved by this TV series where the following weekend after I watched that, I booked an appointment to speak to a travel agent where 30 minutes into our conversation, I'm already booking a trip solo to Mexico. Now, it was either Belize, Aruba, or Cabo. Cabo was a direct flight, so I said, screw it, I'll go, booked my hotel, and there I was sitting there going, holy shit, I'm going on my first solo trip. What's interesting is that I wasn't even nervous. I go to cafes alone, I go to restaurants alone, I go to movie theaters alone, I go to events alone all the time. So what exactly do I need to be afraid of? If anything, this is going to shift something deep in me in terms of my joy, my pace, my confidence, even right down to my standards, like the real nitty-gritty stuff. And I went. And I remember just laying on the beach every single day. And the first thing that I felt was stillness. There were no emails, no expectations. I didn't have to rush to meet anyone else's timeline. It just got to be me, my breath, my body, and most importantly, the sun. I got to wake up every day in a different country and decide what it is that I get to do. And also in Mexico, they speak Spanish. In high school, I actually took Spanish. So tell me how 15 to 20 years later, I'm still able to comprehend and understand Spanish when interacting with the locals. Now, there were a couple times where I had to say, excuse me, but I was able to slowly adjust and understand. As women, we become conditioned to move so fast, to take care of everything, to be everything. But when you do things alone, that's where life starts to slow down in a very intentional way, because you learn the beauty of slow living. You get to wake up without an alarm. You get to take your time to choose what you want to have for breakfast, right down to the ingredients. You get to choose how you want to make your coffee. Do you add cream? Do you add sugar? Do you add a little bit of drizzle? Do you add some Baileys? You also get to take your time to walk by the ocean, enjoy the scenery just because it feels good. You get to exist in a world without any urgency, and in that stillness, that's where you get to meet yourself again. And that is exactly what it was when I went to Mexico. It gave me the freedom to slow down. I didn't realize how fast I was moving. I was always in a rush to leave the house, to run errands, go for a run, go visit my parents, going to different events to meet somebody. I was always rushing myself, and I find that when I really rush myself, I tend to forget things. It doesn't give me time to think critically and in the moment. I'm basically telling myself, Camille, you don't deserve to slow down. And that's also rooted in scarcity. You're rushing because you believe that you're going to miss out on something vital, when in reality, you are just on time. You know the saying, better late than never? Well, at least you showed up. I'd rather you show up than you not show up at all, because what if something happens to you? And I really believe that we are meant to forget things, because think of it like this, right? Let's say you're in a rush to leave your house, and as you get to your car, you're like, damn, I forgot something, whatever it was that you forgot. And so you run back to the house and you're scrambling, looking for what it is that you need. You find what you need. You walk out the house, lock your door, go back to your car. Come to find out there's been an accident on the very route that you intended to take on your commute. So you forgetting something at that exact moment may have saved you in the long run. Another piece of perspective that I gained on my trip in Cabo was that one of the most powerful things that I have gained was the ability to say no. No, I don't want to do that today. No, I don't want to socialize right now. No, I don't want to explain myself. And no, I don't want to go out for drinks with some man that I just met. And those things are bound to happen. And I really think it truly depends on the woman, because think about it. I'm on a trip by myself and I'm being asked by some random man that I don't know to go out for a drink. Now, here's the thing. Number one, I don't drink alcohol, especially if I'm traveling solo. Number two, drink dates. This is just my personal take, by the way, ladies. So if you don't agree, fine. It is what it is. I refuse to go back and forth on this. Drink dates just give low effort. I love food. I love an atmosphere. I love an ambiance. I love intentionality. Drinks just give a cheap vibe. Like it's giving the date, but at a discount. And on top of that, the guy was unattractive and he was socially awkward. And most importantly, I got the passport bro vibe from him. For the women who know what I'm talking about, you get it. Passport bros are basically lonely men who are usually older, who go to foreign countries with hopes of getting women at a much discounted rate, because they believe that modern women are just too high maintenance, too hypergamous. It's ridiculous. How many women are there in the world and you still can't find one? So you have to go to another foreign island because you believe that the women that are foreign are more submissive, feminine, and docile. I think it's one of the most laughable excuses, but I'm not going to get too into that. But I knew what kind of time this guy was on, and I wasn't on that time, right? And here's the thing about men. Men are delusional. Men will go approach a woman that they know is out of their league. And so why don't women have that audacity? Why don't women have the audacity to get on a plane and go on a solo trip without having to wait for anyone. And I think that kind of pours into my next point here. I know I'm a bit I'm a bit scatterbrained with this video. Who cares? But it raises an important point of not having to wait around for people. Whether it's in the group chat, whether it's with a man that you're seeing, just do it yourself and stop waiting to get approval and a yes from a group of people who are probably not even gonna go anyways. They'll back out at the last minute, and then next thing you know, everyone else is backed out, and then it's just you. I take that as an opportunity to just go by myself. I'm not waiting around for you. I'm not going to be accommodating to you. I'm going to be accommodating to myself instead. And once you program your mind to say that you can do it yourself, watch how many doors open for you. Watch how many opportunities that you start to see that you overlooked before. I'm not kidding. I'm now looking at my next destination, and this time I want to go even further. I want the flight to be longer. I want there to be obstacles, because that's going to give me the ability to problem solve. And on top of that, you guys, I'm a creative person. So when you have creativity, you're able to solve problems more effectively because you have more options. You're able to craft and curate how you resolve these issues. And I think it's very important for women to think for themselves as opposed to having others think for them. It gives you more freedom to find resolutions. You know, have a little crash out, but then get back up on the resolution. Traveling alone also reveals your standards, and it helps strengthen them because you get to choose where to eat, what to wear, and how you want to be treated, and even how much information you choose to reveal. Now, for women who want to travel solo, the best piece of advice that I can give you is to make up a lie about yourself. Never ever tell people your real name, what you do for work, and who you're here with. That is where creativity comes into play. Make up a storyline about yourself, or maybe have an alter ego and go according to that alter ego and use that as a form of self-preservation and protection. You're not compromising and you're not people pleasing. You're not shrinking yourself to make someone else comfortable and get their approval. You get to design the foundation and blueprint of how you want your life to feel, because in Cabo, every choice that I made was an affirmation. I deserve this peace. I deserve this comfort. I deserve luxury. I deserve to live on my own terms. I set the bar. I set the standard. And when I come home, I'm not going to return with all this excess baggage. I return with a new perspective. And lastly, traveling alone helped me become more acquainted with luxury. And it's not just the material kind, but more so the energetic kind, because when you travel alone, especially to somewhere that's beautiful, luxurious, and calming, you get to expose yourself to a version that reminds you that this can be my normal. Luxury is my birthright. And this really jumped out when I went horseback riding for the first time. So I booked this through a site called Viator. For anyone who want to travel solo, I highly recommend you use Viator, Viator. And I wanted to go horseback riding along the beach because there's just something so romantic and liberating about that experience. Like, you're on this beautiful horse who represents strength, is majestic, and is so beautiful. And then in front of you, you have this ocean view. It's a painting coming to life. And I wanted to embody that. So I get picked up from my hotel and drive from where my hotel is to Cabo San Lucas, and then just on the outskirts of Cabo San Lucas. And next thing you know, I'm driving through this farm, which looks like a desert, but there's farm animals everywhere. And it's basically this barn/bar. So you can do ATVing there. I was with 3 other people who were on a cruise ship, but we're also wanting to try out the ATVs. So I use the ladies' room, I pay the extra fee, and I get back in the van by myself, and the driver takes me to where the horses are. And also I have a tour guide with me. His name is Carlos. Shout out to Carlos. He was awesome. Carlos brings 2 horses, one for me and one for himself. And the horse that I rode on was a beautiful brown horse. He was super calm, super patient, and his name was Mazapan. Now, Mazapan, of course, is just this beautiful horse, and Carlos proceeded to show me how to get on Mazapan. And I could sense that Mazepan was very calm. And this is my first time riding a horse. So if the horse is calm and patient, then I have to be calm and patient. So I slowly eased myself up on the horse onto the saddle, and Carlos was like, "Oh, muy professional." And he shows me how to maneuver the horse because there's a string. So if you pull the string to the right, the horse will turn right. If you pull the string towards the left, it will signal to the horse to turn left because we're on a trail. So I had to learn how to maneuver through this, right? And of course I had Carlos who was there to guide and help me, but I really wanted to learn and just see how I adjust. And we ended up going to a really quiet beach where you have these mansions that have this beautiful beach view, because I guess a lot of retired Canadians move there. They have all this money and they don't know what to do with it, so they buy a house on the beach in Cabo. And we're just riding along the beach, and I'm just taking this moment in where I'm on this beautiful, majestic animal, and I have this most gorgeous view of the Pacific Ocean. And it just reminded me to romanticize those little moments, because that's the real luxury. And I remember how my nervous system felt. I felt so calm, at ease, and at peace. And Carlos and I were talking in Spanish. He was teaching me Spanish words. I was like, "Carlos, how you say water in Espanol?" He says, "Oh, la agua." You say agua. It just felt great to embody something different and take myself out of my comfort zone, because I'm going to bring that back with me for when I come home. That's such an underrated luxury. And then after that, I came back to my hotel. I had booked a solo date for myself at this luxurious restaurant next door to the hotel. For anyone who wants to go to Cabo, I highly recommend that you go to the Viceroy Hotel, because there's a really beautiful restaurant in there called Nido, Nido. And it's basically a Japanese fusion restaurant where it's really small, super intimate. It's very dark. It only seats about 40 to 50 people. So it's not a full-size restaurant. Very clean, very luxurious. I was walking around the hotel and I could tell that the people who are guests there were very, very rich, y'all. Like, they had valet parking. So that really conditioned me to believe that luxury is in my birthright. Luxury is peace, it's space, it's comforting. It doesn't focus on rushing. You feel safe. You're being treated very well, especially the staff and waiters at this restaurant. They were extremely attentive to my every need and request, and they answered my questions. You almost feel like you're being treated like royalty. It was truly such an incredible experience. And on top of that, you decide what luxury is to you. You have options. I have the luxury to say no. I could have been sitting across some man that I don't even know having a drink, but I chose not to do that because that's not what I want. So therefore, I have the luxury to say no to that. I have the luxury to decide what it is that I get to do. I have the luxury to define my own joy, whether it's reading by the pool, taking amazing photos, creating content, journaling while listening to the ocean. Ladies, let me tell you something. If you ever go solo to a tropical place with an ocean, please bring a journal, because journaling by the ocean is one of the most majestic experiences I have ever felt in my entire life. Because what it is that you desire and want will come to you so naturally because you're in flow with the ocean. When the ocean tide pulls out, that's an indication that you have to release what no longer serves you. Whereas when the tide comes in, what it is that you're manifesting and wanting starts to come towards you. So it's a perfect symbolization of that. Manifesting by the water is truly a transformative experience. Try it and thank me later. Tell me about it when you're done. Women are taught to prioritize safety, responsibility, and relationships over exploring, especially when it comes to exploring themselves. But here's the real truth. Solo travel is truly one of the most fastest, transformative ways to develop independence, trust, maturity, emotional intelligence, and confidence. It teaches you how to navigate the world, how to trust your intuition, how to make decisions alone, how to think for yourself, how to feel safe within your own body, how to enjoy your own company without shame, and most importantly, how to be the main character. I know main character content is thrown around so loosely, but that is the true essence of being the main character in your life. You get the privilege and honor to do all of those things, and you get to learn along the way. Solo traveling as a woman, it's not just a trip, it's a reintroduction to yourself, and it's where the journey becomes inwards. And nobody knows who you are. Like, if you're someone who's well known in your city, when you go to another city or a country and no one knows who you are, I am so thankful. It's like, yes, no one recognizes me, because everyone back home knows who you are, whether you are someone that's well known in your community or even your family, right? But when you're somewhere else by yourself, you're like, dang, who am I? But that gives you more space and time to figure out who you are. And when I returned from my solo trip, I wasn't the same person who boarded the plane. I was much calmer. I was more confident. I was more selective. I realized that I'm more grounded in my standards, and I have the right to say no. I'm more connected to my joy, which is interesting because my middle name actually means joy in Nigerian. It's Anwuli. Shout out to my grandmother, because she really knew what she was doing. It's almost like it was predestined for me. It was always my destiny to embrace joy and to be a joyous person. So me doing something that is so bold and courageous, that helps me find my joy. And like I said before, now I'm trying to figure out where to go next, right? I want to go somewhere even bigger, even further away, because that's going to take me deeper into really discovering who I am in another country, how I maneuver things, how I solve problems, how I can strengthen my confidence. And I love seeing women do this for themselves. Like, I don't know how I got on solo travel on TikTok, but I love scrolling through my timeline and seeing women just travel, whether to Thailand, whether to Vietnam, Italy, Japan. There's one Black woman that I follow, beautiful dark-skinned Black girl, who has created a brand off of traveling solo, and she just went to China by herself. And I'm like, dang, sis, I want to do that. That's inspiring. Drop the itinerary. So all in all, solo traveling as a woman helps you remember who you are when nobody is watching. You get to learn the freedom of choosing your own joy and to realize that you can actually get the life that you want. This is how small we are. You really think that you're someone in your city? Go travel solo to another city and you will realize how small you really are and how what it is that you want is possible. If this video inspired you, or if you're thinking about taking your own solo trip, number one, do it. And number two, after you do it, let me know in the comments. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my upcoming videos. And while we're at it, you guys, tell me what it is that you want me to talk about more. Because look, just like you, I'm not only here to share the knowledge, I'm also here to listen to some more knowledge. So let's continue to grow, step into a new era, and be more powerful, intentional, and sovereign. See you in the next video.